Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is Hangout number 105. All right. It's been a very, very busy week. I've been doing something I never do, which is I did television, national television, local television. I did, let's see, I did 2 Baltimore stations, and I did News Nation with Dan Abrams on the Rachel Morin case. This is the woman who was brutally murdered on the Mom Pa Trail in Bel Air, Maryland. Now, before I go into all of that, just want to welcome you in the chat room. And I want to tell you, if you're not in the chat room, you want to click the link below, join Patreon, $5 a month. You come to 8 lives. My lives are just for patrons only. And so we have a wonderful community. You also get to see that you can come to the shows without any advertising, and you get to participate. And after the show is done, yes, I do make everything public. So if you don't want to join Patreon, still love you. Just please just subscribe to the channel. You'll see everything I ever do. There's nothing hidden. I do things for educational reasons, so I'm not hiding anything for, you paid extra money and nobody else is going to see this. That always bugs me. So anyway, just subscribe. Please like the videos. Please check my playlist and all the cases you're interested in. Now, okay. I want to do some explaining. Okay. Welcome everybody here. Pat, you look great. However, have you been reading? What? Have you been reading all night? What does that mean? Have I been reading all night? No. Not that I know of. I don't know how that would help me out any, I need professional hair and makeup. They look really good. But anyway, all right. I want to talk about I'll start with the Rachel Morin case, and I want to talk about television because there's a lot of misunderstanding. And I like people to understand how things work, because you, as consumers of true crime information, often do not understand how the whole world of television works. And documentaries work, and you think things are a certain way and they're not really that way. And you shouldn't differently. So let me start out. So Sarah sent me this really nice comment, which I think is absolutely sweet. She said that she saw me on, I did Dan Abrams on the case of Rachel Morin so let me show you just that. Yeah, where am I? Where am I? Okay, so here's our Dan Abrams saying, family of murdered Maryland mom now enlists criminal profiler. That kind of concerns me, because you don't want to piss off the police. And a lot of these channels and it's been all over every print media, Daily Mail and everything, that the family has enlisted Pat Brown. Some people say they hired me. They did not hire me. That again, already they don't do their job and figure out what the truth is. And I have to correct these things if I can. They did not hire me. One of the family members called me up and said, look, we're frustrated. We just don't know what to do. Can you help me? I talked to the gentleman for a while. And he was, it's in one of the videos. So he's the father of Rachel's first child. And he was very concerned about what happened to her. So he called me up and said, we're really frustrated. We're all working together in the family, trying to get, see if we can do anything to forward this case. And so in case you don't know, Rachel Morin was murdered. She was walking on the Mom Pa Trail back on, I think it was August 5th, somewhere between 6 p.m. and dusk. It's in Bel Air, Maryland. It's about 40 miles northeast of Baltimore. She went for a walk, whatever, and then she got brutally murdered. And her new boyfriend, who she'd known for 10 weeks, everybody looked over and said, yeah, it could have been that dude. She also had some social media stuff going on, which people go, hey, it could, maybe somebody got it through social media. So far, the police say they believe it's random. So I'm assuming and they had DNA, so it's not the boyfriend. That guy lucked out on that. There was DNA. He's probably thanking his lucky stars, except for the fact he lost his new girlfriend, who he seemed to really care about. But anyway, they have DNA from a guy. Let me put up the picture again of I'll put a picture of my profile on the case. That's Rachel on the left. That's the suspect on the right. Oh, let's not put it that way. He's not a suspect. He is the killer. His DNA was at her scene. His DNA was also 6 months ago at a scene in LA where he supposedly it was a home invasion and he some type of assault on a young girl. I don't know how young, but that's Rachel, and that is her killer, unquestionably her killer. Now, family asked me if I would do could I help in any way? They were really just looking for just for me to explain how things work. And I did that. And we came to this point where I said, the one thing I believe would make a difference is if I could put a profile together with bullet points. And this is something I've been fighting with law enforcement for years. Bullet point chart. You can't just go out to the public and say, hey, you know something about this guy? And everybody goes, well, I don't know anything. or I've seen so much crap all over television because it's a popular case. And so people are saying, so one, like I think Dog the Bounty Hunter was talking about, he could be from the Army. And somebody else says he could be this. And they give so much crap information about, theories, which theories are fine, but they're not useful for identifying the guy. They need a solid bullet point chart of facts so they can identify him. And I've been arguing this probably for over 2 decades. Police departments don't just go out and say, can you give us some information? No, give a bullet point chart as much as you can. Time of when it happened, who you think did it. And if it's a brutal murder, some kind of sexual homicide, say it's a suspected serial killer. Say he's a psychopath. Say what a psychopath is like. So this is what I told the family. And they said, could you develop this for us? Could you make this for us so we could put it on a flyer and distribute it to the community? So I did do that. This is the 5 bullet point chart. And this is the same 5 bullet point chart in Spanish because he is supposedly Hispanic. So I did that. It's just pro bono. I was not hired by the family. But I felt I had something I could actually offer. I also told them they needed to check with the sheriff's department to make sure that it was okay that they distribute this, because I don't want to interfere with your investigation. And if you look at this, if the sheriff's department looks at these 5 bullet points and goes, what the heck? This woman's out of her mind. I don't want that distributed. I'd rather them say, hey, look, we know more than you, and this isn't it. But they did okay it. So now it is being distributed. And so all the networks have picked this up because they're all excited and all that stuff. So, so just to answer how things work. So I did Baltimore shows, and let me tell you, what? Did I just disappear? That was weird. Did I just disappear? Tell me if I'm back, guys, because I saw my screen go black. What happened there? Just tell me if you see me again, because my screen went entirely black. Okay, somebody, let me know. You're back. Okay, that was freaky. Oh no, it's not you. I don't know what happened. I'm plugged in and everything. So you froze, but now I'm back. Isn't that sweet? All right. Thank you. So anyway, so Sarah says, I saw you on Dan Abrams, and it's great you're back on national television. No, I'm not. I'm absolutely not. I don't do national TV. Why don't I do that? Because they use people, they use experts, they never pay them. News Nation, all those experts you see never get a penny. Dan Abrams makes a lot of money. News Nation makes a lot of money. The people on the show who are all the experts never make a penny. Surviving the Survivors, same deal. The person who runs the show, great guy, I like him, but everybody comes on the show does not make a penny. And believe me, the publicity sucks. After I did the News Nation show, I haven't seen any uptick at all for my Profiling with Pat Brown channel. Not a bit, but I didn't do it for that. But it's interesting to see that it didn't do anything. So what happens is they want you for free. I worked for 15 years for the networks, 3,000 appearances. And the only reason I did that was because I was one of the few commentators that figured out I wasn't going to make any money from the networks. They were never going to pay me. So I developed a transport. I don't call it a car service. the always available transport service. And I said, I'd come in, but you have to pay my transport company because I don't like using your limo companies. They all went for it. I got paid $80 an hour from the time I left my house to the time I come back. And that's how I got paid to work. But I'm not going to, generally speaking, work for these people who won't pay me. All right. The reason I did the Rachel Morin case is because I'm helping the family. And a specific thing I think is important. But they just called 20 minutes before the show. I just got a call from a big person that I've worked with before. They're doing a documentary. They wanted me to be the profiler on one of the shows to analyze a case out of California. And they said, can you do this? I said, well, you're paying? And they said, oh, no, we don't pay anybody. I said, well, then screw it. You know, you're being paid. The host is being paid. You're making money. You're not going to pay an expert for her time and her name and for everything else. Hell no. I'm not helping anybody except you. Now, I'll help the Morin family. I'm happy to do that because I'm helping somebody. But when I do regular television shows, it's just somebody you can put up there to talk a bunch of crap. And it's not necessarily solving cases. It's just the way that the show makes money. But they don't pay the people on the show. And it's disgusting. It's slave labor is what it is. And they keep saying it's publicity. But I'll tell you something. TV doesn't get you any publicity anymore. It doesn't. So I just want you to know that. So no, I have not returned to national television. I did Dan Abrams because I've done Dan Abrams' show many, many times in my life. I went there to do this one thing to put out the profile. That's it. I won't be showing up there again. I won't be showing up on any other show unless I decide they're going to pay me for my time. I prefer to be on YouTube where I can speak my mind. I don't get edited. I don't get I got lucky on Dan Abrams. I got more time than I expected, and I pushed as much as I could through in that time. So I was really happy with the results. But I prefer to be here where I control things and I can say what I want to say, and I can actually do something I think is useful rather than just give my crappy little sound bite. And everybody goes, oh, that's really neat. And it's like, no, it actually isn't. So that's one of my soapboxes today. Let me show you a couple of the pictures. I just want to show you this. The 2 Baltimore shows I did, literally, I got 15-minute interview with them. I got everything in there. And literally, I got like 10 seconds of, oh, he's likely a serial killer. That's why I hate doing the shows. And then on Dan Abrams, everything went way better. So let me just show you a couple of things. So Dan said at least, okay, they enlist the aid. Okay, they at least didn't say they hired me. So at least I want accuracy. All right. So now here I am on the show. And they did this nice thing. I'll give them credit on this. They say I'm an investigative criminal profiler, which I am. Profiling the Pat Brown on YouTube, which is true, but it absolutely doesn't actually get you any new people. And working with the family to generate leads. That is also true. So at least that's accurate. But then check this out. Oh, by the way, before I get to the last one, whoops, sorry. Sorry. When I did Baltimore, I swear to God, they said criminal profiler Pam Brown. And I'm like, it was on CBS News, Pam Brown. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It was on Twitter, Pam Brown. So I quickly texted, I texted over to the reporter. I'm like, my name is Pat Brown. When we did the show, you always start by saying, say your name and your title. So you say, criminal profiler, Pat, P-A-T, Brown, B-R-O-W-N. I said that. It's also in my emails back and forth, and I turned up as Pam Brown. So I'm like, hey, look, people call me Pam some people run into me. They'll call me Pam the next time. I ignore that. But this is professional. You're a journalist. Get your facts straight. I'm not Pam Brown, and you took my time, and you can't even give me the right name. So I did manage to get her to fix everything before the final show. But check this out. So now we're on Dan Abrams, and this comes up. All right. If you look up there, it says, now on my profile, I want to show you my profile first. On my profile, you will see that it says number 2. Look at the number 2 dot. He is a violent criminal with these dangerous psychopathic traits. And you all know I love the word psychopath. I was describing a suspected serial killer as a psychopath with psychopathic traits. Now check out what shows up on the show. Look up there on that like white box, psychotic traits. Seriously. And then you'll see this guy on the right side say, ha, psychotic traits. Wow. She's confused psychopathic with psychotic, but she's a professional profiler. And then somebody said, yes, I noticed that too. And I put, hey, that's not my profile. That was a mistake made by the people that work at the network who made up a box with words in it. They typed in incorrectly because they don't pay attention, because they're like 2 years old. Okay, they're 19, but still. So this is what you deal with television. You don't have control. You don't get paid. They're very hurried to get anything done. You're lucky if you get a soundbite that's more than 10 seconds, and then you can never say what's really important. So I will say on Dan Abrams, I got it in, and I also I very heavily pushed the 5 bullet points on this chart, because the whole reason I'm doing these shows is to push the 5 bullet points, because this is what I think would help. If that goes out to the community in Bel Air, might identify this guy. I want to help the family. So you've seen what you're going to see of me back on national television. That's probably it. So I'm going to stay here on YouTube, where I got to say what I want to say. So anyway, that's the reality. I just want you to understand the reality, because so often we watch these shows and people are like, oh, this is such a great show. And I watch it and think, oh my God, this is crap. It's just a bunch of people talking nonsense, and they're just little panels battling back and forth, saying a whole bunch of bull crap. It's not really useful. And everybody's got such different opinions. Nobody even knows what the truth is. It just drives me nuts. These commentators are armchair profilers. Not necessarily. A lot of the commentators are actually real people. The problem is they themselves are not given any time to explain anything. For example, at the end of the show on Dan Abrams, I made a comment, and I got people, there was flack coming from that comment. I said at the end, well, he says, well, these people need to give this information up. And I said, well, a lot of people don't like to be a rat. And then he interrupted me, and I never got to finish the sentence. So people go, that's not why people are concerned. It's because they're afraid that that person is going to hurt them. No, that's not it. I was trying to say, people don't want to be a rat if they think their cousin did it, and they turn that name into the police and it turns out it's not him. They just ratted out their cousin for something he didn't do. That was what the sentence was going to be, but it didn't happen. So, then you get your flack. But the problem is we don't get enough time on national television, usually, to sit there and explain exactly what we mean. So most commentators do have some legitimacy, although I'm sorry when you throw somebody on like Turtle. What was his fucking oops. I don't like that guy. Turtle boy. When he was on Surviving the Survivor, I think he was on Surviving, and he was, oh my God, I was ticked that he was on there. I thought he should not be there. He has some kind of personality disorder, starting with PS, something else. But that guy, I've seen so much stuff he's done. He is a nasty piece of work. He doesn't deserve any airtime. If he wants to do it on his channel, we can't stop that. That's freedom of speech. But he doesn't need to be on any legitimate channel who calls themselves legitimate. Why did they allow him there? Wendy Murphy was going nuts on that show because this guy was attacking her. And I'm like, that's why I don't do your show. I like you. I've known you for years, but I'm not doing your show. Okay. All right. That's, all right. Pat Brown starts out with a soapbox because she's lost her mind. All right. Let me go to the thing I wanted to say about Rachel Morin, though. All right. Some people have asked about, hold on a second. It is 95 degrees. My air conditioning isn't holding. In about a week, you'll stop seeing me sweat and have my glasses no longer fog up. But whew, it's not nice now. Okay, I wanted to say this. Let me see if I can find it now that I've got so much crap open. Okay, hold on. Am I even on the right page? For God's sakes, I'm in the wrong place. Hold on a second. There we are. All right. I want to point this out because this was very interesting. about forensic genealogy and trying to solve the Rachel Morin case. Rachel Morin, again, let me just point it out in case you don't know the case. August 5th, she went for a run on the Mom Pa Trail in Bel Air, Maryland. Some guy popped out and brutally murdered her. We don't have details on that because the police are not releasing that. However, that guy that's in the video is supposedly Hispanic. Now, mind you, I don't know how they came up with Hispanic. Not entirely sure whether it was DNA issues or whether the guy, they looked at him and he spoke Spanish. I don't know. But I want to point this out. This is fascinating. Forensic genealogy could solve Rachel Morin's murder, but scientists face unique hurdles. And this is why I have an educational channel. I want you to learn something. Okay. So they have this DNA, all right? So the person has not been identified, and I do hope that maybe my flyers, that the information I put for the family to get out in flyers will help. But it's going to be a combo of everything together, but who knows? A good tip might come in. So anyway, it says here, let me tell you who's telling us this information. This comes from C.C. Moore, a DNA detective with Parabon Nanolabs. So she's talking about this, and she says she solved more than 250 cases through DNA analysis. Described the tool as a tip generator. Traditionally been used to traditionally been used to close cold cases. Can you say that 3 times fast? Close cold cases, close cold cases, close cold cases. All right, that's it. But it says this. She suspects the FBI, which has its own investigative genetic genealogy unit, is using the very method to find Morin's killer. So authorities uploaded the suspect's DNA to CODIS, and CODIS is where they put all the DNA that they've got from unsolved crimes, from solved crimes, from people who've been felons, and their DNA gets in there. So they put his DNA in there, but it didn't match anything. Well, it matched the crime in LA. So they knew the guy committed these 2 crimes, but it didn't match a felon. It didn't match anybody who was already in the system. So they have the video of the guy, they got his DNA, but they don't know who he is. All right. So it says here now. All right. The next step for genetic investigators is to upload the DNA sample to GED Match and Family Tree DNA, which have databases of about 2.5 million people. They cooperate with law enforcement. Unlike the major commercial databases like Ancestry.com and 23andMe, they have way more people, but they don't work with it, law enforcement. I love the fact she said if this man really is Hispanic, okay? And I think that's reasonable to say because I actually don't know absolutely the guy's Hispanic. I don't. That's what the police say. I'm not trying to undercut the police, so I'm going to go with what they say. I hope he's Hispanic. Then it's likely going to be a much more difficult case. And you wonder, why the heck would that be? Okay, it says that another investigator with Parabon Nanolabs, who specializes in Hispanic cases, told Fox News Digital why these genetic puzzles are harder to solve. All right, the reason is a couple of things. Hispanics are underrepresented in the databases. All right, so a lot of people in the U.S., first of all, some of the databases, people want to see their ancestry and all that crap. Certain groups of people are more interested in doing that, okay? And so there is less Hispanic people deciding they want to find out their history. They're like, yeah, I know who I am. I've been Mexican all my life. I'm Colombian, man. I don't care. Anyway, I'm not saying that's true for everybody, but I'm just pointing that out. So it says, so there's less people who are Hispanic origin or who believe they're Hispanic, or you want to call them that, involve themselves in this. The DNA detectives start with the closest genetic hits they get in the DNA databases, which are often distant cousins. Then they build family trees, starting with the most distant cousins and working forward with the help of public records and other data. But here's one of the problems. All right. But Hispanics are underrepresented in the databases, making it less likely a DNA profile will match a close relative. So there is a problem. The exception is Mexican-American families whose presence in the U.S. goes back to the 1800s. So when you get people who've been here a really, really long time, they might be in that whole process there. A lot of people coming in more recently may not be there because they're recent immigrants, and some are illegal immigrants, and they're definitely not going to be there. In addition, now, if the suspect is a recent immigrant, it is even less likely to get a close match. If the suspect is an undocumented immigrant, the trail can go cold quickly. Also, this is an interesting thing. This I thought was the most fascinating thing. Even greater hurdle that is unique to the Hispanic community is a lack of diversity of surnames. When we're building trees for these distant DNA matches, we are trying to figure out where these trees are connected to each other. When we see that other surname to another tree, we can say, aha, this might be connecting. But with Hispanic families, there is likely to be a repeat of the surname, and it's just always a coincidence, or many times it's a coincidence. She cited a European study to illustrate the point. In Spain, 20% of people in the country have one of the 10 most common surnames. So like in the US, Smith, Brown, those are very common, but we have so many others. But, in certain countries, it's really, there's not too many. And I'm going to actually talk about a case in a bit where I'm looking for this guy and I'm like, how many guys have the same name from that country? It was so bizarre. And I'll show you that in just a minute. So anyway, that's why they may have trouble. It's not such a simple thing as people think it is. So I hope the DNA eventually locks them down. I know that the investigators were up in Chicago, and I don't know why they were there. I find that interesting. If they don't have DNA leading there, I don't know why they're there. I can hope somebody maybe did identify this guy even before I put my profile out, but they've come back from Chicago and they say they don't know who it is. So I don't know. It's going to be a tough one. I think it is a random stranger homicide, and they're very difficult to figure out. And also, this information has to get, if he's really Hispanic, the information has to get to people who may only read Spanish, which is why the family put out the Spanish version. And it has to get near them so they can see it. Because, not everybody watches TV. Not everybody listens to radio. Where are you going to see it? Put it in the laundromat. Put it at a supermarket. Put it someplace where you actually might run into it. So, otherwise you're not even going to know about it. I mean, I don't know half of the cases I do until you all tell me about them, because I don't watch TV because I'm not fond of it. So I'm going to check on your comments before I go to the next subject. All right. Oh, hi, Benny. Benny's here. Oh, Harper's here. Welcome. Oh, that's interesting. My hobby is ancestry building, my family tree. So many people have the same names, and it can be confusing as heck. Indeed. And I also want to mention, because this is very important, if you're going to commit a crime, make sure you have a really common name. Pat Brown, I can get away with a lot. My ex-husband, he's the only one in the entire country with that name. Luckily, he's not a criminal. But if he were, he'd be in real trouble, because he's the only one with that name. That's interesting. So we've had 2 women assaulted here in San Diego, attempted rape. I think it's the same guy. Hard to know. The problem with rape is much more common than sexual homicide. It is, because it's easier to commit. You don't have to kill people. And so there's a lot more serial rapists than there are serial killers. And they overlap, just like serial killers overlap, but they overlap more. So could it be? Yes, it could. But how do we know? Unless they behave the same exact way and the description is the same. The advantage an investigator has of serial rape is that you have actual victims who are still alive, and they actually can say what happened. They can give an entire description of the assault and maybe, hopefully, the perpetrator. The problem with sexual homicides is your witness is dead. That's the way it works. So Alyssa says, my husband is Salvadorian, and while my white family always wants to see their ancestry, his family doesn't care. They just say they're Salvadorian. Well, there you go. So there's a cultural issue here of how people are even give a crap. My family, my daughter did do some ancestral stuff because her dad is from Jamaica and my parents are from Germany and from Britain. And so it was curious for my daughter to see exactly what the background was, which African countries we were connected to, and which what we were connected to in Europe. And so that was fascinating to her. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people just don't give a crap. I mean, especially if you come from a country where everything is pretty much solidified into sort of a similar background. You're like, yeah, I'm not really thinking about who my, whether I've got, I'm Salvadorian, but oh my God, I might be 1% Nicaraguan. What am I about that? I'm freaking amazed. So anyway, so all right, I want to go on to. Oh, I'm going to talk about. Somebody asked if I was going to talk about this today, and the answer to this is no. So, the Dennis Rader stuff going on. Dennis Rader's daughter, Kerry Rawson, is sharing new details about the investigation thing, and they put out stuff like Barnes that he seemed to be obsessed with, and she's been putting out drawings of Dennis Rader's of girls who are tied up and so on and so forth. And I must admit, I blocked her from Twitter. She's following me. I actually blocked her because I don't want to see that. It's like pornography to me, and it kind of terribly upsets me. So I'm going to do a separate show on this. Do I think this is serving any purpose? Okay. And so I'm going to not anti-Kerry Rawson. It's just certain things bother me about how BTK. Well, let me push that aside. I'll say Dennis Rader because I've got the issue about BTK and Dennis Rader being 100% the same. But anyway, you got to watch my BTK show. Anyway, Dennis Rader is a horrifying serial killer. He's in prison, and there's certain ways to handle things that work and also aren't offensive to the families of the murder victims. So I have some issues, and I don't want to get into that because I'll probably go on for 45 minutes. So I'm going to go on to something else, but I'm going to do a whole separate thing on that just in case you want to know. All right, let me go to something. Something we're talking about things that we don't see correctly. So anyway, what happened was there was this video done that caught this Prince George's County police officer, and I'm in Prince George's County, and it caught this dude, this officer, kissing up on this woman. And then you see him with his arm around her. And then you see them going to the car. And then you see them getting into the car. And apparently they spent like 45 minutes in that vehicle. So somebody caught this on camera. Now, was this unbecoming to a police officer? So, by the way, this is all over. I mean, you can't believe how huge this is on Twitter. And I think the major reason was the inference in this was that this police officer was forcing or making some kind of deal with some, because he's a white dude and she's black, that he was like, if you look recently at the Holtzclaw video I did where that police officer was stopping black women, white police officer, well, white Asian, white Japanese, stopping women who are black, and then he got convicted of sexually assaulting all these women by using his power when he stopped them and forced them to do certain things. And is this another case of this? So so this has gone all over the internet. And people, oh my God, look what this police officer is doing. And I'm looking at this going, okay, I'm looking at the behavior. There's a video. I'm like, okay, they're kissing. It doesn't look like they're not happy kissing. She's not happy. He's got his arm around her. So some people interpreted that as he's forcing her to the back. I think he's cuddling her. And then they're like hanging out. And her arm is going out to open the freaking car door. And then he's letting her in, and they're getting in there hanging out for 45 minutes. So I posted back on these Twitter things. I'm like, looks to me like a girlfriend. Now, I'm not saying a police officer in uniform should be kissing this girlfriend and having whatever, canoodling in the back seat. Who knows? They could have been having lunch. They could have been chatting. I don't know if they're having sex. There's no proof of that. But, you're a police officer, you're out all day long, your girlfriend wants to bring you lunch or something, and you say, hey, let's sit down and have lunch. I don't see this as a criminal activity. Now, is it unbecoming and is there any issue with it? Well, that's up for the police department to decide. But I'm looking at this going, looks like a girlfriend to me. And then this comes out on Twitter. I want to point out, I was correct, but under very interesting circumstances. Here's the thing that came out. This is from a woman named Paula Marlette. That's the wife of the police officer. Thank you, everyone. Yes, this is a very tough time for me and the kids. As embarrassing and painful as this is, please check in on us. We need the support, the love, and most of all, the respect from the community and our families. Yes, I know what's been going on. No, I'm not updating anyone on the situation after today. Virginia, that's the woman who was kissing up her husband. Virginia's husband left her ass a long time ago because she cheated. So she and my husband decided to do this behind my back for years. I'm not seeking anyone else's input. I don't need anyone's opinion. My life is my life. I will make decisions accordingly. I love you all, except for you, Virginia. You can rot in hell, bitch. Oh, don't, you know, I'm going to say this to the police officer who is now on suspension. Don't do this. If you got, it would be one thing if you're your wife. It will be one thing if you're your girlfriend and you didn't have a wife. But dude, if you got a wife, don't be kissing up your girlfriend next to your vehicle and then have people around you see you doing that and video you. Because this is a new world. We got Twitter, you know what I mean? So, oh my God. I'm thinking his career might be short, but not because he committed a criminal act, just because he's an idiot. Actually, supposedly has sort of he was kind of a sketchy dude anyway. But oh goodness gracious. I'd give money to everyone but Virginia. Oh my God. No segue. What's segue? Hey, that is funny though. I have to admit, it did make me laugh. So, you know, sometimes you got to laugh. And speaking of laughing, I got to show you this one. This is from another country, and I can't pronounce the name of it because one of those new Eastern European countries that's fancy, very fancy. But this is actually a true story. But check this out. It's a true story. The police did arrive. They arrested the dude. He was robbing a store, and he had gotten the money and he'd gotten out of the store. And a 36-year-old woman stopped him and held him up until the police could get there. Give her credit. I mean, that's going pretty far to be a good citizen. But that did make me laugh. You got to have a few laughing things in here. Oh my God. See? That's exactly what I respect the strategy. Oh, that's funny. Okay. So many fun things. Okay. Should I get serious again? Should I? Okay, let's see. Oh, just I want to mention this just because this is ridiculous. This piece of crap. Okay, see this piece of crap? His name is David Lettery, or whatever his name is. Convicted of enticement of a minor meeting a 13-year-old in a park. All right, to have sex. This piece of crap. Now, I ran into a guy just like this guy. Let me tell you what this guy's doing. Hold on a second. Okay. Oh my Lord. There we go. Oh no, that's not it. Where did it go? Hold on. Oh, for God's sakes. I think I lost it. Oh man. Okay, let me point out what this guy's doing. He is suing companies. He's in jail. He's suing companies for putting the wrong information on their ketchup packet or that was the mustard packet, I think. I can't find this, but anyway, he sues and sues and sues from jail, from prison. He's suing all these companies for anything he can find And my question is this: how does he have the permission to do this from jail or prison? I mean, I wish I could find the article now. I just lost. Oh, there we go. I found it. Sorry. Very small things on a lot of screen. Okay, here it is. A convicted sexual predator is representing himself behind bars in a civil lawsuit. Now, mind you, one of the problems when you have these guys behind bars is they have too much time on their hands, and they have this huge law library a lot of times. So they become that jailhouse lawyer. But he does, a lot of them do it for themselves, but they also sometimes sell their services to others for benefits. All right. So he's representing himself behind bars in civil lawsuit lodged against a condiment company for false and deceptive advertising and breach of duty of care regarding the labeling of one of their mustard products. Oh my God. He claims that although the ingredients are shown on a mustard package produced by 4-in-1, there is insufficient nutritional information for customers. You can't spell that correctly, mind you. Customers, CUSTUMERS, to determine the calories and carbohydrates the product is in the product. And we're talking about mustard, a mustard pack, which has almost no calories whatsoever. He's seeking $450,000 in damages. Now, mind you, he's in prison for 10 years. He traveled 200 miles in 2020 to meet a 13-year-old for sex in a park. This is the piece of garbage that this guy is. But he is filing this lawsuit. Since his arrest, he's filed at least 24 lawsuits, primarily against federal agents and challenging his incarceration. But, I ran into this same kind of guy years ago when I was working on a case. One of the things that police warned me about was that this guy sues everybody, literally sues everybody. And I have an entire file of this guy writing me emails, threatening lawsuit. Now, this is a guy who wanted to be the next Jeffrey Dahmer and liked drowning young men underwater in fantasy. And I posed as that for the police. And he drowned me many times as a 15-year-old boy because they were trying to get information on him. He was seeing a therapist. He was he's suspect in a number of crimes. He ended up in prison. But anyway, he threatened everybody with freaking lawsuits about literally every single little thing. And here's this guy. He's in prison. 24 lawsuits. A mustard packet. Seriously, dude. What a pain in the ass. What a pain in the ass. And that's the problem. When you allow criminals to have so much access to the public and do all these things, when they have already, in my opinion, once you commit a crime, I know there's all these rights even prisoners have, but I think we don't have to give them all those rights. I think there's things that once you have committed a crime against the entire community, you shouldn't have this so much freedom to commit more crimes against them. That just drives me kind of nuts. Oh, anyway, that was just another interesting one. Now, I want to talk about two things back to back. One is the death of Alex Abraha. Now, this was an interesting case. This is actually from a while back. I think it's 2021. Nothing has proceeded in this case since 2021. And by the way, I do have a couple of UK cases I'm going to talk about in a minute because you all asked, and some of you are from the UK. But I want to talk about this guy. All right, so this guy, let me find the story first. Oh, it's so hot. All right, this guy got killed by pit bulls. Now, this is the photo the family put out. The body of Alex Abraha was discovered on the homeowner's front porch after being mauled to death by pit bulls. This is the homeowner's front porch. It's a pretty shabby looking place. Family thinks it's a crack house, but their son doesn't do drugs, so they think there's something really shady about this. But anyway, this is the photo they put out of him. Let me explain this. 2 pit bulls fatally mauled a suspected intruder in Georgia, leaving the body on their owner's front porch. Alex Binyam Abraha, 21 of Atlanta, was found early on September 24th. This is in, 2021. He was supposedly the pit bulls mauled him and left him on the porch. And he was found by the homeowner who wasn't at home at the time. When he arrived home, he found the body on the porch. Now, they said that The homeowner doesn't know him, wasn't expecting him, and wasn't home at the time. Autopsy revealed that Abraha, who had warrants out for his arrest in Fulton County, had been brutally mauled by the dog, fatally mauled by the dogs. They believe he had broken into the home and encountered the animals, but an investigation is ongoing. And no charges were filed against the homeowners. The dogs were taken. I still know the fate of the dogs. I'm not a fond of pit bulls at all. But sheriff officials are trying to figure out how Abraha got to the home since no vehicle was found nearby. All right. That is very suspicious. Like, what the heck? Why was he there? Homeowner's not home. He supposedly got into the house, and then I guess he got attacked. He was trying to get out of the house and died on the porch. How did he get there? Why did he have outstanding warrants? This is a problem when you try to look at some things on the internet. I searched and could not come up with what those outstanding warrants were. I also try to find Fulton County to see what the warrants were in Fulton County, and that's not public information from Georgia. I don't know what he was doing in Fulton County. I don't know anything about it. But I'm going to point this out. So here is Alex Abraha. He's actually from Minnesota. He's from Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's where his family comes from. Ethiopian descent. And the funniest thing, I was trying to find out who this dude was. And I was on the internet looking, and I found so many Alex Abrahas. I couldn't believe it. One guy was this guy who graduated in Minneapolis from some college, and he was doing really well and had this good job and all this stuff. I've got kind of face blindness, so I put the pictures next to each other. I'm like, I don't think that's the same guy. Finally, I figured out it was, and I found birth dates, and it wasn't him. But there were so many Alex Abrahas around. It was amazing. Now, I want to point this out. So the family has this picture, and they also have. Do I have it up here? I do not have it up here. I'm going to read. I want to read to you what the parents. There is a. They have a whole bunch of stuff out trying to find out what happened to him. It says here, to all my current friends, I need all your help. My family is facing a very serious matter. It says, help my brother rest in paradise like his kind, gentle heart of gold soul deserves. My family will not rest. We have not rested. We have not ate for a week now. We have not stopped hurting. We have not stopped fighting. If you knew my brother, comment your experiences with him. Comment about who Alex was. Let's come together as a Minnesota-raised community and clear up my beautiful Ethiopian brother's name. Alex Binyam Abraha, class of 2018. I think he was like 21 when he died. Wait a minute. He was born in 1999. He died in 2021. I can't do math. Now listen, he was murdered. This is what the family says. He was murdered. He was found dead on the doorstep of a filthy crack house in the middle of nowhere. No bus routes near. He was found with no identification at all, no phone, no wallet, no keys. They tossed everything he owned before the 90 days. So something about this is a claim that police are involved. His family has no evidence at all. We were not notified of the murder. Alex was taken forcefully. He went missing for 2 weeks after that. He was never booked into the system. They didn't notify his family. He was brutally tased before he went missing. Hold on a sec. Let's see what else it says here. Yeah, he was taken and beaten and tased on the 17th of September against his will. Where he's from in Minnesota, none of this stuff goes down. All right, I thought Minnesota had a big issue with the police, but all right. He must have been terrified. Alex was all alone through all of this. He's always had Alex was all alone through all of this. Alex has always had his whole life a clean record, except there were warrants out for him. The media is trying to paint my brother out to be a robber, like he broke into this house to get something. He works hard for everything he has, and he has always paid his bills on time. All right. They also claim there's no dog marks on him, but that's what he was. The autopsy claimed there was. All right. Here's the problem. When you see this, now they've got a GoFundMe. They've got a petition to fight to find out what happened to Alex. And I honestly don't know what happened to Alex. There are some interesting things about the case, and it's pretty much been dead quiet since. But there's also this problem. They say he's always paid his bills, but why is he, first of all, why is he in Atlanta? What is he doing in Atlanta? I always get suspicious when a family won't give information about, like, he lives in Atlanta and he's working for this company and everything was fine. And how did this happen? They don't mention what he's doing down there because he's from Minneapolis. What the heck is he doing in Atlanta? It's interesting. Then they show this picture. But this is another picture of him. All right. So he looks a little different here. He's got some dreads. I'm not saying it's a bad picture of him, but everybody always likes to show when they graduate because somehow graduation makes you totally a great citizen. And then when you have dreads, you kind of look more like a homeless dude. Not that there's anything against dreads, but these are the things we get, and we say, where's the reality here? Police ruled this. The dogs killed him. They don't know why he was there, and the whole thing is supposedly ended. Does the family have reason to want more information? Yes, but the question is, we don't know, and this is where we don't know from the outside, and this is where so many of these GoFundMe things and all these things take off. They're giving their story. We don't know what the police actually told them. We don't know if the police have already sat them down and told them every single detail, what the warrants were, what he's been doing up to, what his issues were, was he a drug user, blah, blah, blah. The police may have told them everything, but they're not letting us know. Or maybe the police told them nothing, and they are legitimately wondering what happened to Alex. But from the outside, we honestly don't know. And so when you see these kind of cases, you just got to say, I can't jump one way or the other on it because I haven't got a clue. I do feel the family is withholding information. So that's interesting to me. Now I want to point you to a different case. Another guy another guy who's graduating. I know they love the graduation pictures, but anyway, this guy, totally different situation. All right. Let me find his story because this is, I have questions about the determination of death in this case. I do have questions. Okay. And I have more suspicions that something more went on and wasn't investigated properly. I don't understand it. Now, the Alex one, I think he's sketchy. Okay. I think the family may not want to admit he's sketchy, and maybe he's taken a bad downturn in life, hooked up with some people. They went and did something and left him there when the dogs attacked him. They just drove away. I don't know. Something sketchy about that whole thing. So I don't know if the family truly has a 100% innocent brother there who's the nicest guy in the world, and for some reason the police had warrants out on him, and then he ends up at a crack house. Okay. All right. But this other guy, let me find it. All right. This other fellow, this is him. And this is a picture of him. His graduation picture. And this is another picture of him. His name is Yohanes Kidanes, if I'm pronouncing that correct. He's 22 years old when he went missing. All right. Now, totally different story. Now, this guy, all right. Kidanes, hold on a second. Let me find the story properly here. All right. His body, he's a Netflix engineer. He has a good job. 2 weeks. He just got this job as a Netflix engineer in San Francisco. I'm going to say, dang, you hit the lottery, the money pot. You know what I mean? This is fabulous for you. He should be super happy, right? The body of missing engineer who has recently moved to San Francisco to start a new job at Netflix was found floating in the San Francisco Bay, and his cause of death has been revealed. The badly decomposed remains of Yohanes Kidanes, 22, were pulled from the waters northeast of the Golden Gate Bridge. And we have talked about the Golden Gate Bridge before. There's all these, suicides off the Golden Gate Bridge. And sometimes people say, well, I don't know if it's really suicide. I don't believe it. All right. So this again, near the Golden Gate Bridge. Passing boat spotted his body and notified the Coast Guard. His death was determined to be a suicide. Now, most of the time when people go off the Golden Gate Bridge, it is a suicide. It's like, yeah, okay. And then you find information like they were highly depressed before they went missing. They were blah, blah, blah. This guy, I'm not seeing it. Kidanes of Webster, New York, disappeared on April 14th when he was last seen leaving his San Jose apartment in an Uber just weeks before he moved across the country for this to work at Netflix. Now, mind you, he had actually taken an Uber a little bit earlier and had a really bad experience. A guy wanted to take him to Oakland. He's freaked out over this experience. Like, this is really terrible. I don't know if I want to take an Uber again. But he was actually seen getting into an Uber before he disappeared. So I wish he'd stayed with his feelings. But I like Uber. I've never really worried about that. But for some reason, he was freaked out about Ubers. Anyway, he got in this Uber. That was the last he was seen. Now, all right. Investigators were unable to ID the body because they had no identification on it. Then the coroner figured out it was him. They determined, now here's the thing, they determined the cause of death was a combination of blunt impact injuries and drowning, and that the manner of death was suicide. Now, sometimes when you chuck yourself off of a bridge, you can get blunt force injuries after you take the pitch, whether you hit the bridge, whether you hit the water and and then you drown. So yes, I understand that this could be suicide. I don't have a problem with this, that it could be suicide. However, they go on and say this. Kidanes' wallet, cell phone, and backpack had been found near the Golden Gate Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge Welcome Center, after he went missing. All right, so all his stuff was near the center, had been left there. Why? I don't know. So theoretically, I think this is the scenario. He left his stuff near this welcome center, just dropped it on the ground, walked onto the bridge. But then it says his photo data showed that he was on the bridge for the majority of the night he disappeared. I don't know what they mean by photo data. I thought it was GPSing. His phone, he was noted to showed that he was on the bridge. Well, wait a minute. First of all, the cell phone was not on the bridge. It was near the Welcome Center. Now, I don't know, maybe it was like sort of on the bridge near the Welcome Center. This is where you get this crap. I would like to look at the case. Wow, blackout again. What the heck's going on today? Okay, I got to check something out. This is freaky. This is not normal. I don't know what's going on. I'm plugged in and everything. I'm getting the blackout thing. The freeze. I assume I'm back. Am I back, everybody? I'll have to ask again. This is so weird. Am I back? I just froze and said, crap. No, not just you. It's weird. I haven't had this happen in ages. Am I back? Tell me I'm back. I'll have a drink while you're... Oh, I'm back. Okay. So here's what bothers me. The phone was on the bridge or near the bridge for that night. That doesn't mean he was. So this is peculiar because what they're saying is, okay, let me read it again. He was at the bridge for the majority of the night he disappeared. Was he just standing? So what they're saying is he dropped his stuff. He stood on the bridge and thought about whether I should jump or not. He sat, I guess, for the majority of the night. I don't know what the night even means. 4 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours. Oh, yeah. I hate my new job I just got. My life sucks. I'm going to jump. What? How long is he standing on the bridge? First of all, just because his phone is there doesn't mean it has anything to do with him. Anybody could have dropped his backpack there. And he's already in the drink. Somebody could have pitched him over and left his backpack there. And the phone will keep saying he's on the bridge when he's not on the dang bridge. So his family and friends desperately searched for him after he reportedly told a friend he had a concerning experience with a rideshare car just 2 days before he went missing. And the last time he was seen getting in a car with an Uber sticker. So it says here, They don't get, the family doesn't understand it. Now, I don't know. Maybe he did have suicidal ideations. I do not know about. Of course, at the end of the article, they always say, if you're struggling with suicidal thoughts, because definitely this guy committed suicide. I don't know. And I don't know, again, whether the family is hiding something about his mental state, or whether some guy, the Uber driver, assaulted him and then dumped his body off the Golden Gate Bridge, or dumped his body. You can drop the bag, take his unconscious body to any place near the Golden Gate Bridge and dump him in, and he's still going to end up in the water somewhere there. I don't know. But again, we have this division of what's the family thinking? What are the police saying? Now, the first case, I'm thinking the police are probably on the right side of this dude did whatever he did. The second case, I'm thinking, I would like to look into that more. I'm not so convinced. Although the family may be hiding stuff, I don't know. But I mean, the guy's got a great educational record. He just got a job with Netflix. Everything is super. And he suddenly decides to kill himself 2 weeks later. Now, can that happen? People will say all the time, oh, I thought he was doing great, and then he killed himself. It can happen, but I don't know. The family is not being forthcoming with any information about any depression, neither are any friends. I don't know. Did he have depression? And was that a moment where he looked over that bridge and said, screw it all? I don't know, but I'm not convinced, because the cell phone was not on him. It's not on him. Wait a minute, let me look back one more time. His wallet, cell phone, and backpack have been found near the bridge. The cell phone is not on his person. It's in a backpack. How does that prove he was standing on the bridge for hours? That just does not make sense at all to me. So I have issues with the determination that this was the manner of death was suicide. A little sketchy. Just don't know. He'd only been there for like 2 weeks. I mean, I don't know how lonely you get in a couple of weeks. I mean, I've traveled a lot. I've moved to new places. I mean, yeah, moving to a new place can be difficult, but my goodness, this guy was a success. He had a great job. He was getting a nice place to live. I mean, things weren't bad for him. So, but again, the whole thing about that he was known to be on the bridge, I don't understand how they come up with that information. Does the media suck and not give proper information? Maybe. Or is this just a poorly handled investigation? I honestly don't know. It's a little weird, So, yeah, it's crazy stuff. I just don't know. I'm just pointing this out again, as we on the outside of any police case sometimes aren't too sure what actually happens. And now here's something. I just want to point this out, because this is one of these things that we just don't think about, how people behave. All right. Let me see if I can find these people. Where are they? Okay. I'm going to I'm going to push that aside and go to the UK, because I know some of you people are here for the UK case. All right. Somebody asked, oh, sorry, that's not it. Where'd she go? No, don't go missing on me. Seriously. No. Don't do this to me. Oh, here. Is this her? Okay. There we are. Charlotte Lewis. Somebody asked me to look at the Charlotte Lewis case, because they said they knew, I guess knew her or knew the family. She was a teacher at, I can't pronounce that for the life of me, some college with it starts with a P. All right. What's interesting to me about this particular case, this happened in the UK. Let me find it. Yeah, where'd it go? Hold on. Have patience. You don't know how hard it is to see this crap on here. It really is. It's hard to see anything. All right. This is an old case. It happened way back in 2005. We're talking 20 years ago, but I thought there was something very interesting about this case. This guy, a train driver who fantasized about sexual violence against women, has been jailed for murdering his stepdaughter, and that was his beautiful stepdaughter. She was a teacher, and attacking her mother. Paul Coles, 38 of Hampton Lane, Bournemouth, I don't know if I'm saying that right either, admitted killing Charlotte Lewis, 24, a teacher at the college. And he killed her at his cottage. All right, she was sexually assaulted and beaten to death. Coles must serve. Now, here's the first thing I have to say about this. At least how many years? 26. Seriously, what? 26 years. Didn't he rape and murder the girl? 26 years? 26. This should be life without any other possibility. But apparently, for some reason, he just only has to serve 26. He also admitted indecent assault. Is this a UK thing? An indecent assault. That's just rape or sexual assault. I don't know how indecent came into it. All right, that just seems to me to play down what it is. It's a brutal sexual assault. And grievous bodily harm. Oh, it's GPH. I didn't know that was a little thing here. GBH. Grievous bodily harm, GBH. First time I heard that. Of his wife. During the hearing, the court heard how Coles attacked Charlotte after his wife of 4 years, 46-year-old Nicola Lewis, rejected his advances. Now, mind you, the claim is he began battering his wife with a plank of wood, leaving her barely conscious. All right. Now, first of all, I don't know. I looked up to see whether his wife, Nicola, when she's been beaten with a board she's unconscious, how much does she actually remember of anything that happened that day? So is this his word of what happened, or did she say this is what happened? I think it's his, because when he said he beat her because she rejected his advances, that sounds like bull crap to me. That is a psychopath claim. The victim made me do it. So hey, I'm her husband. He was her husband. Yeah, I'm her husband. 4 years, I've been her husband, and she had the indecency to say no. So I beat her with a board. And because I beat her with a board, he was interrupted by Charlotte's screams. The daughter was screaming. So he then hit her over the head several times, splitting the plank in two before sexually assaulting her. So his wife said no, so he beats her. The daughter says, oh my gosh, and she starts screaming. He beats her, but then he sexually assaults her. I guess because he didn't get any from his wife. This is a psychopath story if I've ever heard one. Coles was arrested shortly after a body was found. It's also a very sad thing that Charlotte, apparently some point in this thing, I don't know if she got away from him for a second or she heard her mother. She called 999 and they couldn't hear things correctly. They went out to the house and didn't see anything wrong at the house. They knocked on the door, didn't hear any problems, and they left. She could have been alive. We don't know. And so Charlotte's father wasn't happy about this. Okay, so anyway, they found, after they arrested this piece of crap, he had a 40-point list of violent sexual fantasies leading to death. They were in a briefcase. I'm going to say this whole murder wasn't about his wife saying no. This whole murder was about his sexual fantasies leading to death, and he committed those on his stepdaughter, Charlotte. He will be placed on a sex offenders registry for life. Oh, is that all? That guy should never see the light of day ever again. Here's a little quote here. It should not be forgotten that this was not at the hands of a stranger, but at the hands of her stepfather, a man that she believed she could trust. Really? Did she really believe she could trust him? Here's where I feel sorry for the father of Charlotte. The mother of Charlotte married this piece of garbage. This is a psychopath. Why did she marry him? Why was her daughter living in the house with this guy? Because I'm going to say, I find it hard to believe that for 4 years they were all hunky-dory and everything was happy, and he was the best guy ever. And then one day she said, I don't feel like sex. I have a headache. And he beat her to death beat her with a wood plank and then beat her daughter and raped her out of the blue. And he's already got this list of sexual fantasies. What nonsense. What absolute nonsense. So women, Watch out who you marry, and do not bring your children into that home with a guy that you cannot trust 100%. And my guess is you can't trust him 100%. And what the hell what's your daughter doing in that house? It's just sad to me. And the daughter probably thought, hey, I don't know why she was there. It was a cheaper place to live. And maybe she did think the guy was okay. But 4 years, somebody knows something. Guy didn't hold out for 4 years without having some controlling, concerning behaviors. But again, we often ignore those behaviors and we stay with them. And now maybe if they'd gotten lucky, like Dennis Rader, the family wouldn't have been assaulted and he would have just gone out and raped and murdered other people. That would have been better for them. But for some reason, he started out in the home, which is extremely unusual, by the way. That is really kind of weird. So that was freaky. Let's say, I'm going back up to see if there are comments. I don't get that either. I do not understand that. I mean, it's like, especially when you have that level of violent crime, it's not, they didn't get into it. Like, I get it. Well, let's say they got into an argument over something else, and somebody pushed somebody and they fell and hit their head. And literally that's all that happened. Okay, I get it. The person ended up dying and you're like, oh my God, I didn't intend to do that. But when you rape and murder somebody by beating them over the head with a board and sexually assaulting them, you've just crossed this line which says life in prison or a death penalty. Pick your choice. I don't care which one you go with, but they should never see the light of day again. I don't understand that. It blows me away. It does. And yeah, it does. Okay. So to do the other UK case before I forget, this is more of the Maryland issue about the guy who was cheating on his wife with a girlfriend for God knows how long. Finally ended up on Twitter. But this one, I thought it was funny. It was brought to me, and I thought this was amusing, more so than anything else. Now, this guy, hold on a second. Let me find it. Okay, where do we have it? Okay. Oh, here we go. All right. This one, I just find interesting when you talk about the way people behave. Revealed, this is coming from The Guardian, revealed undercover UK police officer deceived a woman into a 19-year relationship. Sorry. This whole thing makes me laugh. All right. This is what happened. An undercover police officer used his fake identity to deceive a woman into a 19-year relationship in which they became partners, had a child together. The officer concealed his real identity from the woman for the duration of that period, 19 years. Either that guy was amazing, or that woman's kind of a dumb crap. Sorry, lady, but 19 years, you had no clue. Oh my God. Anyway, the officer concealed his real identity from the woman for the duration of this period, never telling him his real occupation and using his fictitious identity on the birth certificate of their son. In 2020, after the couple were engaged to be married, the woman discovered, after 19 years, took her 19 years to get an engagement out of this guy. Here's your first problem, lady. Why bother now? Whom she believed to be a businessman. She believed he was a businessman, but you never saw his business. Hey, people who are business people have websites, they have LinkedIn, they have something, I don't know, did he get one business card and hand it to you and you thought that was good enough? You never met one of his business buddies? You never went to one of those horrible, business Christmas parties and crap? For 19 years, he had a business. You didn't even know what the heck it was. Oh, my goodness. He was, in fact, a police officer who had subjected her to a sophisticated deception lasting almost 2 decades. You can't have it. basically she didn't ask the right question. She didn't bother. She didn't do anything. Sorry. She was a dumb crap. I'm sorry. The Independent Office for Police Conduct, and this reminds me of the Prince George's County police case. Should the guy be kissing up his mistress, as some would call it that, or his girlfriend, although his wife knew about her, and hanging out with her in his vehicle? No. Okay, inappropriate conduct, fine. I don't care if the police department gets rid of him. And here it says the Independent Office for Police Conduct is investigating senior officers at Avon and Somerset Police who knew about the undercover officer's relationship with a woman as far back as 2013. Okay, all right. They appear to have waited at least 7 years before informing the woman that the person she knew as her fiancé had been using a fake identity given to him for the use in covert police operations. Probably because they thought, this woman's got to know. Come on, how dumb can she be? The woman, whom the Guardian is referring to as Mary, to protect her identity because she comes across as a dumb crap. I'm probably going to get emails now, probably from her, does not want to speak publicly about the experience. However, her relatives say that she is a shadow of the person we used to know. The whole thing has broken her, her sister says. She has expressed suicidal thoughts. She cries daily. She does not sleep. She's really fearful. News of the deception has upended the entire family lives. Our dad, the stress of this has destroyed his health. This has put him in the hospital. My mom is on antidepressants. She can't sleep at night. We can't talk about this to anybody, not even the children. We're broken as a family. Say what? I think his whole family has issues. I'm sorry. But hey, you find out the guy's a lying dog. You say, wow, who knew? Why is everybody falling apart to this extent? Oh my God. Senior police say they warned them that if the public were to become aware of the 19-year relationship, the revelation could spark riots. What? Why would people be having riots? I mean, okay. However, Mary's family now believes this and other warnings were used to co-opt them into a cover-up of the scandal. Oh, did the police say, hey, just tone it down? Look, the guy was useful to us. He did covert work. I'm sorry he played your dumb crap daughter, but, she didn't ask questions. What am I going to say? Okay, so they didn't respond to comment. Then they issued an apology, because everybody issues an apology these days, which, by the way, if you want me to apologize for something, I truly have to believe that I erred, that I crossed the line. I'm not saying I can't, then I will apologize. But for the rest of you, for that 95% of the time you ask me to apologize for something, not happening. Not happening. So they said, while working in an undercover role, a former officer engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a member of the public using their pseudonym. Okay. I don't know where inappropriate comes from, because a former officer had a relationship in which he falsely used a pseudonym. I don't know what's inappropriate about it. It's just a relationship. If she's going to hang out with this dude and not find anything out about him, that's her business. The member of the public has no connection with policing, and until recently, they were entirely unaware of their links to the undercover police officer. They played no role and were not connected with his operational deployment. They're trying to protect her in this sense. So, in case somebody wants to say, hey, she knew more about his work. They said, we fully recognize for those involved has been deeply upsetting over a number of years and remains so today. We are sorry. We recognize and understand the devastating and appalling impact this has had on all those affected, and we have taken and continue to take our duty of care very seriously. That's the traditional apology. And they're like, hey, look, this is our undercover officer. He did his job. Sorry it turned out that he was kind of a psycho. But undercover officers sometimes really enjoy their undercover work, like posing as a drug person or posing as a gang member. Sometimes they have kind of a personality disorder and they're to be able to do that to begin with. So I don't know, the police are like, oh, we're so surprised. They're like, man, he got away with it? Dang. All right. Relatives recall the undercover. Okay, so the woman, Mary, who is British and of Black Caribbean heritage, is a respected and active member of her community with a professional job. Relatives recall the undercover officer, who was also Black, as a charismatic but quiet man who appeared to be interested in cars and spent his spare time weight training and doing martial arts. According to Mary's brother, the officer tried to win the family over when he began dating her in the early 2000s. He was a person who knew how to get around people. He knew my mom loved flowers. Every time he came, he gave her a kiss and brought her flowers. Mary's brother said the undercover officer could be manipulative and controlling, recalling how when the couple had relationship problems, he would always go to my mom and talk to my mom and try to win her over. This has nothing to do with undercover stuff. This has everything to do with the psychopath controlling things. And you all saw it, and you didn't investigate. The couple began what turned into a serious, long-term relationship. I have a bug on me. Wait a minute, sorry. While the officer frequently traveled away for several days on business, and that's their quotes, not mine, he developed close bonds with their family, helping her father when he needed a new car and regularly attending family gatherings. I remember my girls being babies and him holding them. Over the time, the officer became a stepfather to Mary's daughters from a previous relationship. And then they had their own son. But Mary's sister said there was always a secret side to him. Back then, I didn't see it as a secret side. I just saw it as being private, like y'all had no idea what the business was. Right? Throughout the relationship, Mary's family said he never disclosed that he was a police officer. Yeah, because he said he had a business that you never even checked out. 2013, 12 years into the relationship, he is understood to have left the police. Okay, so now he's out of the police. It is not known what precipitated his departure, but appears to be related to an investigation into his conduct. So they figured out he was a psycho. All right. So then they decided not to inform Mary. I don't know if do they need to. I mean, it's her husband. She chose him, or she was going to be his husband. I can't figure that out. Okay. Using his alias, he maintained his role as father to Mary's son. That is not his role. He is the father of her son. That's his son, for God's sakes. And stepfather to her daughter for several more years. And his relationship with Mary also developed in that time. He proposed and they became engaged. And then finally they told her the truth for some reason. And then she fell apart and she realized that he was a liar and had a double life and blah, blah, blah. So, first thing, the police force has to hire people to do all the jobs they do. And they try to hire the best people they can. And they try to put them through psychological screenings and all that crap. But sometimes, it's hard to find enough people to work, especially with anti-police stuff today. So you have to start lowering your, requirements or just look the other way. It's like, wow, that's kind of shady, but hey, okay. And also, if you're going to put people into a lot of undercover work, a little questionable to begin with, that they like to do this kind of work. And you need those kind of people. So the fact that the Prince George's police officer kissed up on his girlfriend in public, and this guy had a long-term relationship, which apparently a lot of the family liked him, doesn't have anything to do with the police. There are guys having double marriages. They're lying like crazy all over the place, saying they're not married when they are married. They have a girl that's in Houston and they see her for 10 years and she thinks, oh my God, that's my boyfriend. Turns out he's got a wife in Miami. This happens all the time. It has nothing to do with the police. Absolutely zero to do with the police. Just happened to be that's his occupation. But I thought both of them are kind of funny and people are just getting all bent out of shape. I'm like, seriously? Do you live in the real world or what? Oh my goodness. Here's Benny. Hi, Benny. Well, let's see what Benny has to say. If I killed every woman who rejected my advances to them, I'd be the most prolific serial killer ever. I'm so sorry, Benny. That's very unfortunate. But I know you have a wife now. So does she reject your advances? I hope not. I hope not. Although, that's funny. Let's say, okay. Sometimes when I go through some of the comments, it's hard to figure out where you're at because we have the chat room. I try to say stay on topic, but sometimes y'all get a little fun chats on the side, which why did he use a fake identity? Let me guess. He was married? No, apparently he was not. So they never said he was married to anybody else. Why did he use a fake identity? Maybe he didn't want to tell her he was a police officer. Maybe it's just fun. When you get into psychopathy, you cannot necessarily think the way you would think about things. And that's where it gets really confusing for many people, that they just don't understand, why would they do this? Because it's fun. Because it's fun. No, Benny is not an incel. I love Benny. Benny is Benny is, by the way, one of my best profilers on this channel. He amazingly, he gets so correct. And he sometimes, Benny, I know you sometimes send me things, you think, this is what I think. And I never respond because I don't want to say if you're right or wrong before I do the show. But more often times you and I agree. So it's quite amazing. So she was a dolt. Yeah, usually I use the word dolt instead of dumb crap, but usually I use the word dolt for men who are married to women who like kill all their children or do the Sherry Papini thing. I call them a dolt. So yeah, you're right. She's a female dolt. Yeah, exactly. She's a dolt. And sometimes dolts are very nice people. They're just not very inquisitive. They're not very aggressive. And that's why they're picked. So let me say that. When I said I should move dumb crap away. Sorry, that was insulting. I'll just use dolt if that's nicer. When you meet somebody and what happens with a person who has a personality disorder, psychopathic, they will see many different people and test them all out. And this one will stand up and say, hey, wait a minute. And this one won't. They're not going to go with the one who said, hey, wait a minute. They're going to go with the one who never questioned. That's who they'll go for because that's the one they know they can control, manipulate, and fool. So it's oftentimes a really nice person who just doesn't have that mentality to just check things out and make sure that they're not being screwed over, because it so easily happens that people just don't check into things. I have to say one of my funniest things that ever happened to me was that back when I just got divorced, I thought, I'll try one of these dating site things. And there's this one fella, he was really interesting to email back and forth. And then he said that, let's see, how did this go down? He was telling me he was a divorced man with 2 children. He was a professor at a university, and he was. And he really liked me, blah, blah, blah. I happen to be of Indian descent because, I have a strong connection to the Indian community. And like, he was the same age as me. We talked, emails were great. He was a divorced guy with 2 kids. But he didn't use his real name. And I managed to figure it out because I'm a profiler, Figured out his real name, ran his name. Here's what I came up with. He was divorced with 2 kids, except he'd remarried and had 2 more and was still married. And then on top of that, I found out he was looking for prostitutes, blonde prostitutes in California, in San Diego. So I wrote to him on one of my emails. I said, it was really nice getting to know you, but I have to say, I'm really concerned about your 4 children, your new wife, and the prostitutes you've been looking for in California. And he comes back groveling with this email. Oh, please, 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 please don't tell my wife. Please don't tell my wife. And I wrote back, I'll think about it. I'm thinking about it. And then I never contacted him again. I just let him sweat for the next, I don't know how many years. But what a slime bag, But I'm not a dolt. I'll figure you out. You know what I mean? So, because I'm curious and I want to make sure that things are on the up and up. And everybody out here, male or female, if that person that you're hooking up with isn't willing to give you information, there's something wrong. Because if you're totally honest and above board, there's no reason why that information shouldn't be clear as a bell. But if they start saying, oh, I can't find that, I can't give that to you, I can't tell you this, hey, there's a reason for that. They're not honest people. So don't fall for that nonsense. Let's see, what else do I want to do here? I want to talk about, we were talking about how long somebody gets in prison. And I could not believe this one. This is just unbelievable. Where is she? Okay, this woman, this is a case from way back when. Way back when. This is Linda Hazzard. All right, let me find Linda. All right. This one is just mind-boggling in the sense of the again, remember when I talked about how women get away with so much more than men, especially serial killer women? They're like, well, maybe they had a problem. Maybe they didn't mean it, you know. So anyway, this is Linda Hazzard. She was an American quack swindler. I'm not going to call her quack quite, but a swindler and a convicted serial killer noted for her promotion of fasting, pummeling, and hour-long enemas as treatment. Now, mind you, this is back in 1911. She was found guilty of manslaughter in the state of Washington and was sentenced to now, how does this make sense? Sentenced to 20 years. 2 to 20 years. Wait a minute. First of all, if she's a serial killer, why doesn't she have life? But if she's got 20 possible years, why would she only have 2 years? What the heck is that crap? Unbelievable. So anyway, she was sentenced to 2 to 20 years of hard labor for killing at least 15 people for financial gain. At a sanitarium she operated near Seattle. She was released on parole after only serving 2 years. Because what? She had good behavior? This is what a lot of them get out on, females. Good behavior. Look, I didn't kill anybody for those 2 years, so let me out. They let her out for 2 years. And get this. And later, for unknown reasons, she received a full pardon from Governor Ernest Lister in 1916. She lived till 70 years old, and she finally died of her own treatments. I think she's a little crazy, mind you. All right, so just to point out what happened with her, she was a big proponent of fasting. And personally, I kind of like fasting myself. So I'm not anti-fasting. She was a little insane about it. So you got these things that are good, and then you have excessive use, all right? She developed a fasting method she claimed was a panacea for all illnesses, ridding the body of toxins. This is still believable today, that people believe this, that if you fast, a lot of the toxins will go out and so on and so forth. Your body will have time to repair itself. However, fasting should be only done until your body is not going to handle it properly. In other words, if you're fat, you can fast for a long time. If you're thin, you can only do so much. All right. So she wrote a bunch of books, and then she started the sanitarium in Wilderness Heights in Olalla, I guess, Washington, where inpatients fasted for days. That's not a big deal. Weeks. Okay. Or months. Okay. But getting into the months, it gets a little concerning unless you weigh 400 pounds. On diets consisting of small amounts of tomato, asparagus juice, and occasionally orange juice. Now, also back in those days, there were a whole bunch of interesting versions of health treatments, okay? She was one of them. While some patients survived and publicly endorsed her methods, dozens died under her care. She claimed the deceased had succumbed to undisclosed or hitherto undiagnosed illnesses such as cancer or cirrhosis of the liver, which is also possible. And even today, doctors will do this. Let's say a person goes in and they've got a cancer or a cirrhosis of the liver. The doctor says, let's use this treatment. And the person dies. The doctor never blames the treatment. He always blames the patient, right? Well, they already had this problem. So no matter what treatment I gave them, wouldn't have helped. Even if the treatment killed them. Still happens today in our hospitals. That's just my opinion. All right. So anyway, a whole bunch of people died. And then, so they got her and they put her 2 to 20 years. And then after that, she got out. She moved to New Zealand, where she practiced as a dietitian and osteopath. And then one of the local papers reported that she held a practice certificate from Washington State Medical Board. And she used the word doctor. And they charged her in Auckland under the Medical Practitioners Act for practicing medicine while not registered to do so. She was found guilty and she was fined in the US dollars, $462. Hey, sometimes to get a certificate, you got to pay $2,000. I think you might as well do the, don't ask permission, ask forgiveness. Hey, if it was only $462, I'm going to just go ahead and do it. And if you never catch me, it doesn't cost me a thing. If you catch me, $462. Anyway, 3 years later, she returned to Washington and opened a new sanitarium, even after she killed 15 people. And it was now publicly known as the School of Health since her medical license had been revoked. But she continued to supervise fast until the sanitarium burned to the ground in 1935 and wasn't rebuilt. And she died of starvation in 1938 while attempting a fasting cure. Alrighty then. they got a long list on Wikipedia of all the deaths attributed to her. But what amazes me, 2 years? 2 years? I mean, if you think she's a serial killer, and I don't think she's a traditional serial killer. I think she was a psychopath who believed in her methodology that she thought was really cool because she died of it herself. So she's a bit of a whack job, but she obviously didn't have a lot of empathy for other human beings. And she got money from it as well. So she enjoyed doing this technique, which she thought was perfectly reasonable. And if somebody died, it wasn't her fault, because psychopaths never think it's their fault. And then she made money, and then, hey, she continued on until, hey, she made it to 70. And I don't know why she starved herself to death then. I don't know what they mean by starved herself to death. But at any rate, I thought that was bizarre. I mean, 2 years. Get out of here. What the heck? Some stuff is really weird, and we don't get an entire answer for why these things happen. Karma. Well, that's a good point. That's possible. But I think you're right, Harper. I think she clearly believed in the treatment to a level. But the question is, a lot of people believe in what they do, but they also believe in it because they're not willing to examine things properly. For example, I, having spent time around doctors since I worked in the medical industry for 13 years, the things they believed were interesting. Like, for example, here's a good example. When I was pregnant with my daughter, this was back in 1980, 81, 80. She was born in 81. My husband brought home some Church's fried chicken. And I'm like, oh, I'm pregnant. That's cool. I was 8 months pregnant. I can eat that crap, because I'm pregnant, right? And I ate a bunch of chicken legs, and then I got deathly ill. I was in so much pain. I was throwing up, diarrhea. That's horrible. And my husband and I both thought I was miscarrying and losing the baby. So he took me to the hospital, and they determined I had a gallbladder attack. And I had felt these odd things of nausea way past morning sickness throughout my pregnancy, but it never really, I was 24 years old. I wasn't that bright. But, I didn't really recognize what was going on. We didn't have the internet so much, so, you couldn't look things up. So you're like, well, I wonder what this is. I thought it was long-term morning sickness, but it was really a gallbladder issue. I was told after that, as soon as I had the baby, I was to come and get my gallbladder taken out. That was the only choice. Doctor said that without a question. Didn't think about it at all. And I'm now 68 years old, and I still have a gallbladder because I refused to do that crap. And that doctor never once suggested, maybe you shouldn't eat so much grease. Change your diet. You won't get gallbladder attacks. But did he believe what he was telling? Probably. But was he also, I think, in a sense, he was so into this is what I do and this is perfectly okay that he lacked the empathy to even spend time talking to me or even determining if that was the proper action. And I think a lot of people can get into that mode. And so now we question. We accept that today as being normal. But this woman who thought fasting was okay back in the 1910s, was she total psychopath, or was she just, believing in whatever she together? And that's where it gets a little tricky. So kind of fascinating. I think I got left here. Let's see. This one's just a fun one. I call this a fun one just because who would think? Okay, so this is, find the people. Where'd it go, guys? Okay, I'm searching for them. Oh, here. These two. Okay, here they are. This is a bizarre case right out of my location here. Hold on. This is a mother and son. Mother and son. Now, this is what happened. Let me find him. Okay, here we go. This was let me see, where is it here? Oh, this is Florida. Sorry, I thought it was my area, but it was not. The mother of a 20-year-old. The 20-year-old, this guy, the 20-year-old on the left, he was arrested for allegedly killing an 18-year-old woman in Florida, Home Depot, on Friday. he was being charged with first-degree murder. The sheriff's office announced the arrest also of Mummy on the right. That's Mum. Why would they be arresting the mom? Well, they arrested her. Let's see. It says Sheila Agee, I don't know how to pronounce that, is the mother of Keith Agee, who was charged with first-degree premeditated murder and aggravated battery. Deputies said he shot and killed 18-year-old Brooklyn Sims, the mother of his 2-year-old daughter. Okay, do a little math there. So Brooklyn, and he had this. She got pregnant when she was 15. Had a 2-year-old daughter, and she was a contract employee working for Home Depot. So now it said here that according to text messages, it's clear that his mother knew and participated in the plan to kill Brooklyn Sims. Check out the messages. Keith, she ain't doing nothing but cost me money and give me blank. I've been just shoot her, and I hate that for her daughter, but I can't take it anymore. Mom says, okay. And she says, okay, I'll call you and tell you if you want to go. So a lot of swear words in here. I'll tell you when we get close, but if you don't come and kill her, you're a MFing. Wow, Mom. Mom didn't like that girl either, I guess. So she said, don't call Nanny and tell her she'll try to talk you out of it. Oh, so if you talk Nanny, I don't know if that's grandma, she'll try to talk you out of killing her. Don't do that. And he says, I'm not even going to tell her. I'm just going to say I got to go to the dentist. Mom says, yeah, don't even go there. She won't know you left. Don't shoot at my MFing car. I don't want to die. Keith says, I'm not. Sheila says, wait till I put her out. Keith says, I was going to wait till she got out. And she says, okay. But there's another thing. If she don't get out of the car, Mama, and I have to drag her out, or I can't, because I'm just going to open the car and door and shoot her. Sheila says, the mom says, as long as you don't shoot me. This is like a bad Hollywood movie. And then she says, hell, if you're getting off work now, I'll give you the address here and you can ride over here and do it so you don't have to do it in front of the daughter. Oh, that's nice, Grandma. You don't want Daddy killing Mommy in front of your granddaughter. That's very sweet. Okay, so she sends over the information. And then the mom says, hold up, let me get it erased, the text, because I don't want nobody to know I was texting you, your stupid ass. Oh, my God. Keith says, I already deleted mine. Trust me. I'm not going to say about us. And then it's like, okay. Then she says, I can't wait to get back to the store to give you the address because you're going to have to shoot me today because I'm done told you about cussing me. Then Keith says, all I want is the address, Mama. And then, let's see. And so on and so forth. And then, oh, so whatever you do today, because I'm going home today, not to hell or to jail. Good for you, says the son. Then the mom says, okay, then stop texting me. Do whatever you want to do. It don't affect me it doesn't affect me either blanking way. Oh my God. Wow. Oh my goodness. Sometimes some people are just unbelievable. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope that 2-year-old with Nanny, maybe the only one that's got any decency in that entire family. Oh, Lord God Almighty. Yeah, real winners. Yeah. God, Lord. And keep crime in the family. And of course, they didn't erase all their text messages. So there you go. What was that? Oh, I'm trying to figure out what that is. That's an interesting point. Many narcissistic doctors hate being questioned. And I think that the entire industry does push doctors and, to believe that whatever is being taught within the industry is cutting edge and is correct. And there's a lot of almost Stockholm syndrome for doctors. I truly believe this, because I had a very good friend who was a doctor, and oh my God, I would never go to her. Never. But she believed hook, line, and sinker everything that ever came out of whatever conference she was at or whatever, as this is great information. I'm looking at the information going, that is nonsense. So I think there's once you've been through the whole process where you spend 10 years of your life becoming a doctor, you are, to a good extent, have Stockholm syndrome, in my opinion. But that's completely off of criminal profiling. That's one of my little side things we don't need to get into, because, hey, that's not, somebody says, stay in your lane, Pat. Don't talk about medicine. Oh my goodness. But I thought that was just a nice okay. So I'm going to do one last thing, and then I'll stop for today, because we've gone on for quite a while. But I just have to mention this because I just cannot believe this crap. So anyway, this woman who is a teacher in my county. Where is she? Hello, teacher. Oh, here she is. Okay. All right. This poor teacher, she launched an advocacy group after a playground attack. She got attacked on the playground last year. This is the same county that I live in. All right. She gets attacked. Now, get this straight. All right. This will be my final thing, and this will be a small soapbox. But anyway. All right. This woman is a dedicated music teacher, two decades of experience. All right. And she wasn't sure she's ever going to return to the class. Why? She was attacked by two female students, and even kicked in the head, causing a concussion. She provided photos showing the resulting cuts, bruises, and a swollen brow bone. She was attacked on the playground at Potomac Landing Elementary School in Fort Washington, Maryland, about 30 minutes from my house. She was attacked by the two students. Okay. Calloway said one of the girls was suspended for 10 days and the other for 20. Seriously? 10 and 20 days for assaulting a teacher. This used to be immediately you were kicked out of the school and you went to the juvenile place. This is an assault on a teacher. How the heck can this be possible? So now what she started is this thing called Rally for Teacher Protection, which I totally am, and I totally agree with. But here's what bothers me. Teacher protection. Those two girls were in the school. What about the other students? What about the student protection? Nobody ever talks about that. What about the student protection? And I'll give you this example, because this happened to me and my family. My son my kids went to this, it was a church Bible program in the summer. And one of my sons was there, and he was, I can't remember how old he was at that time, 8 years old. So he's in this program. So I arrived there, dropped him off, and I noticed seemed to be too few adults around. So I said, would you like me to stay and help out, watching children and all that? And they said, no, we don't need you. So I left. I get a phone call from this church, and they said, your son has had an accident. I come there, and my son was missing his two front teeth. I'm like, what kind of accident was this? And they wouldn't talk about it. And then I got witnesses, like a bunch of them. What happened was my son went up to the water fountain and was about to reach out to get the water. And this kid came up and kicked his legs out from under him. And he went down on the water fountain and broke his front teeth out. That's what happened. But the people lied to me about that. And I'm like, my son was assaulted. So it turned out in the long run that I actually got the mother of that kid actually asked the kid why he did it to my son, who was also 8 years old. And she said, well, was he bullying you? And the boy said, no. And she goes, well, and the boy was a kind of Hispanic kid, sort of that look. And she said, well, was he a black kid? And he said, no. Was he a white kid? No. What did he look like? He looked like me, because my son is biracial, and sometimes he's looking kind of Hispanic-y. And the mother didn't have a clue. Why did her son attack this kid who looked like him and didn't bully him? And so I ended up having to file a lawsuit against the church. because I needed coverage for dental work and all that stuff that he had to go through. He has false teeth to this day in the front of his mouth. He has to get them replaced when he got older, and it's caused him problems. But here's what pissed me off the most. First of all, the church claimed they didn't have insurance, which was a lie. So I'm like, what kind of church are you that we would lie about having insurance? But then this is what really pissed me off. After my son was assaulted, that little boy was allowed to come back to the program. And I asked these people, I said, hey, what about my son? They said he can come too. I said, why would my son want to come to the program? He's terrified of this kid. And they told me every child has the right to come there regardless. This is what I see happening in the schools. So children in the schools, like that 6-year-old, remember that 6-year-old who shot the teacher in Virginia? Guess what? He's in another school now. Not only are other teachers in danger, because that little kid's a psychopath at 6, but other children are around this kid who brought a gun to school and shot his teacher. What the heck? Aren't we supposed to be protecting our children? So I'm sorry, but so yes, do I approve of this teacher fighting for teachers not being beaten up? Absolutely. But why aren't you saying those girls shouldn't be back in school because they're going to hurt other children? That's who you're supposed to protect most of all, not only yourself, which I understand, but you're supposed to be protecting the children. And we see so many videos these days of children being beaten in the hallways, just being assaulted crazily, along with the teachers. And you know what y'all need to do about it, you stupid school boards, PG County especially, because that's where I live. Y'all sit in your fancy chairs. Stop allowing violence in the schools. It's not okay. Your schools are out of control, not just for the teachers, for the students. It's disgusting. So anyway, that's my little soapbox at the end. Oh, Lord. I've got my little soapbox. Chronic bullies need to be punched. Chronic bullies need not to be there. You know, that's why we used to have special schools. And people say, oh, we don't want to hurt them in that way. We don't want to make them feel bad. No. Once a child assaults other children in the school or the teachers, they need to be removed. They need to be removed, and they need to be put in an environment where there is, first of all, they're under control by other adults, and they're in a situation. And I'm not saying it's good. Nobody likes juvenile detention places. But hey, you can't let a kid who shoots a teacher walk back into another school. And by the way, probably those people there have no idea who that kid is. They'll probably go into some kind of fake name. Oh, really? Really? A teacher in PG County. It's a rough county. It is. It's a rough county. Oh, that's interesting. They do the same with priests who molest kids and firefighters who light fires. Well, if they figure, well, sometimes what happens, I don't want to get into the whole priest thing, but, you know, a lot of times there's a fear, and same thing at the hospitals allowing, you know, when they start questioning whether the nurses are killing people, they just let them transfer out of the hospital to another hospital so they can kill someplace else. So don't give their hospital a bad name. So there's a lot of reasons that there's this silence by certain businesses, hospitals, certain churches, schools, because they want to keep up their name. And so they don't want to admit bad things are happening there. And in doing so, they just endanger everybody. And I have no respect for that. Zero respect for that. Oof. Do we have special schools? I can't even answer that question, Lisa. They used to have a lot of special schools. I don't know if they have less of them now, or they're just not transferring the kids there. But the kids are getting worse. The kids are getting so out of control that, you know, the special school, you had one special school, took care of those, the bad apples. But now half the barrel is bad now. So what are you going to do when everybody's out of control? It's kind of like the shoplifting issue. You know, it's like once upon a time, they used to stop a shoplifter, take him into the office and say, no. And it was like a kid who stole a pen or something, or a girl who stole a piece of jewelry. And now the shoplifters just walk in the store, bring their backpacks, pour everything into them, and walk away. And in Prince George's County, now the major stores are refusing to carry things like that they think will be stolen. So the shelves are empty. It's because we're not arresting shoplifters anymore. Across the entire United States, we have gangs of shoplifting. It's actually gotten to be a professional thing. It's because it's not just a bad apple now, it's a half the barrel. You can't allow half the barrel to become rotten. When you do that, you lose control, and then our society just crashes and burns. So, by the way, it's sign language for crashes and burns. So, let me see if any the comments before I quit for today. Because I'm hungry and I want to make my dinner. Well, yeah, I've been bullied. My advice is to punch him in the face. Bullying gets tough. I mean, it all depends whether you can get your kid out of the school or not. Now, I homeschooled all 3 of my kids because I just had no tolerance for that crap. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's because you can't stay home and homeschool. You can't afford private school. So, you're screwed. You're stuck with what you got. And then you have to help your kid deal with that. And if the school doesn't give a crap and won't do anything about it, the same way. I mean, if we have more danger on the streets now, it's because the whole system is falling apart. We got less police officers. We are letting guys out of prison. We're letting guys out of jail without bail or bond. I mean, they go right back on the streets and commit crimes. We're in a situation right now in the country where we have a tremendous amount of criminality going on, and psychopathy is rising, and so on and so forth. Maybe the end of the Roman Empire type of thing, But I hope not. I hope that we get our brain together and say, hey, we can't have this disorder, because disorder leads to violence and other horrible things. Even in our own lives, when we're disordered in our own lives, we just fall apart, right? So, yeah. So I just hope things improve. Anyway, I'm going to stop there. Glad you were here today. What am I going to do on Saturday? Okay, Saturday I have my granddaughter starting soccer, so I got to go to soccer games, right? And so I decided I want to do, because I've been asked to do this, I'm going to do the Australian mushroom case, because I do have something to say about it. This is the woman who's been accused of possibly putting poisonous mushrooms in the dinner she served her guests and having 3 out of 4 die. It's an interesting case. A lot of people are talking about it, but I think I have some particular insights into it as a profiler that I want to bring there. So I'm probably going to do this show at 8:00 on Saturday night, because I want the people this is an Australian case, right? I got that right. I always screw up Australia, New Zealand. Sometimes I grab the wrong country. Anyway, so I want them to be able to come. So it should be, I think, 14 hours ahead. So if I do it at 8 p.m. at night, sorry, UK, you're screwed. Most of Europe can't do it. But 8:00, so that folks in Australia and New Zealand can show up in that part of the world. It should be 10:00 on a Sunday morning for them. I hope they'll be able to make it. I'd like to do stories from that part of the world, because I do have patrons who come from there, and they have some really interesting cases, and I've been asked to do this one. So that's what it's going to be, mushroom time on a Saturday evening at 8 p.m. So I hope you're going to be able to come to that. So that should be fun. And you can come with all your mushroom recipes. Hopefully not ones that'll kill us. Lisa answered, you need to visit us, Pat, so you can tell the difference between Australia and New Zealand. I do know the difference. It's just, what happens is once in a while, I end up doing it better with other cases. But, I think I said recently, what's her face that killed the babies who got off now. I accidentally said it was New Zealand, and somebody said, it's not New Zealand, it's Australia. I'm like, and I look back and oh yeah, that's right. So sometimes I just forget what I'm talking about. Well, because as you all know, I don't sit here with a huge list of every single piece of information that I'm reading off of. I'm not doing a taped interview, a taped thing where I then, when you see a lot of people who have YouTube channels and they do a video, you'll see these little, that's because it's edited. And every time they screw up, they edited it and fix it. So they come across as much more intelligent than me because they get the names right, the places right, because they go back and check and go, oh my God, I screwed that up. And then they retape it, insert the correct thing in there. I don't do that because I hate editing, and I just don't have the energy. So all my shows are straight through. And so sometimes I'm like, somebody will then comment, Pat, that's completely wrong. I'm like, oh crap, that's true. Oh, how did I mess that up? But I'm very happy. As soon as I figure out how to fly to Australia or New Zealand or both places, which I'd love to visit, and not have to sit up and coach, and not have to pay the incredible amount for first class so I can lay down. As soon as I figure that out, I'll show up and visit. Oh my goodness. Wait a minute. Lucy. Who's Lucy? Who are we, Lucy? Hold on a second. Oh, that is so wrong. New Zealand wants to be Aussies. That is so wrong. Oh, Lord. So I'm not going to get into I'm not going to get into the whole discussion on the case yet here. So you have to wait for the mushroom case. And you can watch. I'll send over the links. I forgot who here told me to look at this. Thank you, whoever it was. Again, I can't remember all these names, but I know who you are. And in my head. And you gave me 2 different shows to watch. I went with the 60 Minutes Australia because I don't like doing shows where other people just give their opinions who aren't experts. But 60 Minutes Australia had a reasonable amount of stuff on it, so you can check that out. And then I'm going to be examining a lot more things before Saturday so that I can do a show that's worthy. And so, So anyway, I hope you'll be there. Lucy Leppy. Okay, Lucy Leppy. Now I know she's in the UK, you see. but sometimes I do forget the state of the country or the name. And I just have to go with a sense of humor because otherwise that's just too much. It's too stressful. Oh my goodness, another one. I'm still waiting. I wanted to see her take on Stephen Port, the British serial killer and serial rapist in Barking, England. I'm going to do a whole series eventually on serial killers, and I'm trying to bring them in. But here's the problem. Because there has to be something about him that is particularly interesting. Most serial killers to me are boring. I've never been fascinated by serial killers. You're a psychopath, you like to kill people, you do it. All right, so if that's the story, then one of these other channels can tell that story well. Bully for them, let them do it. But as a profile, I have to have something worthwhile to offer in analysis and not just say, he's a psychopath who likes killing people. So I'm very cautious about what I talk about so that it serves some purpose. And I'm not telling stories. I don't like doing it. And I don't do it well. So it's like, I have to know the story I'm going to tell is going to be 5 minutes, and then I have to something worthwhile to say. So we'll see. The cops screwed up in the Stephen Port case. Did they really? I don't know. Okay, I'm writing it down right now. Stephen, I'm going to put this down. Wait, I'm just going to photograph it. I'll check them out, and I'll see if I believe that's true or not. So, it's always hard to say. Sometimes it depends how old the case is and how much information we can get that has any validity. And here's where the problem comes in again. So somebody will say, oh, this happened, and this is what happened, and that is what happened. Do we know that's what happened? Or is this the media? So we don't necessarily know. And it's very difficult sometimes for me to say, hey, it's clear to me the police screwed up here, or that somebody was railroaded, blah, 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 because we get such biased stuff out there in the media and in documentaries and all that stuff. So I have to see whether I think there's any. Yeah. Oh, Dr. Amie Harwick. Yes. Okay. All right. Shall I did have her here. Actually I did. Okay. Before I go, I can't get to everything. So let me talk about Dr. Amie Harwick. All right. There's only one thing I want. Oops, that's not it. That's Navarro. Okay. Hold on a second. Harwick is this woman. This is Amie Harwick. There's a trial going on for her ex-boyfriend, Gareth Pursehouse. He basically came into her home and beat the heck out of her and tossed her off of a balcony. He was stalking her for years. She was in a relationship with him back in, I forgot when the relationship was. Hold on a second. Let me find it, because I was going to do this one and I forgot about it. Hold on. And there's only 2 things I'm going to say about this, because again, I have to have a purpose in saying it. Was she killed by the guy? Absolutely. I mean, there really is. There's DNA there. There's no question. He's going to go down. Okay. So So I don't have to say who did it because we all know who did it, basically. Let me find this a sec. I got it here. Okay. So the murder trial is coming up for this creature, the crazed ex-boyfriend who is a obsessed stalker dude. His name is okay. She is a Hollywood sex therapist. That's who she was, a Hollywood sex therapist, and she once was with Drew Carey. Is that correct? And they had a relationship, but then that fell apart. So anyway, this guy. When did she hook up with the creepy dude here? They started dating in 2011. In 2012, she ended the relationship and filed for a protective order because claiming he physically and emotionally abused her. All right. Now, I do want to point out this issue about what was said about this. I think this is what I want to talk about here. Okay. So if anybody's still around for this one, I'll talk about it. So what happened was he started assaulting her. All right. He started, really assaulting her. She wrote, this is what she said. Gareth Pursehouse, this is April 2011. Gareth Pursehouse forced me to the ground, covered my mouth to prevent me from yelling, and kicked me. In mid-May. Okay, so I have a problem here. And this is what I point out. In April, he covered her mouth, forced her to the ground, and kicked her. Here we go again. I don't know what's going on with the blackouts today. It's really weird. Once a guy kicks you, assaults you, punches you, one time, you should be gone. There should be not a second time. You should wake up in the morning and you're not there. Okay? That should never happen twice. And if you allow it to happen more than once, you are making a big mistake. In May, there were multiple arguments in which Gareth Pursehouse choked me, suffocated me, pushed me against walls, kicked me, dropped me to the ground with force, restrained me, slammed my head into the ground, and punched me with a closed fist. That's in May. And then, it says further, somebody said they would get in these yelling fights. And one time she threw a pillow at him. She threw a pillow and he hit her and bashed her head against the floor. And then he would make up and be all like, I'm really sorry, I love you, and all this kind of stuff. How many times does a guy have to beat the living crap out of you and you don't walk away? All right. Now why didn't she? All right. Let me find the thing. Okay. It says here, he was hurting her. Why did she stay in a bad situation like that? Okay. He says here, she wanted to make relationships work, even if they weren't working for her. She did not like to lose at all. So I think a relationship breaking up would feel like a loss. And she was very much about maintaining things, even if they weren't good. This is a therapist. I'm going to say I've looked at her history. She was she did Playboy nude stuff. She was a go-go dancer. And usually that aligns with prostitution. She is a fighter for women's rights to be prostitutes. She's a sex therapist. I'm going to say she has every right to be all of those things. But a lot of people that I've seen get into therapy who have this kind of background need therapy themselves. That she would allow herself to stay in this relationship so because she couldn't accept a loss, because she couldn't lose this guy who beat the living crap out of her. She's a therapist. She had major mental issues, major ones. Personally, I wouldn't go to her as a therapist if I knew this crap, because she had too many issues. I'm not saying she's not a nice person. She's got a lot of issues. So she stayed with this guy, and she's with a guy who is psychopathic, who's obsessed with her and very violent. She breaks up with him. She throws out she stays away from him, but she runs into him quite a while later. So they ended the relationship. He didn't take it very well. He started to get obsessive. Now you've got a problem. Once this happens, you are in a serious situation. You are, because you have embedded yourself with this guy. And for a guy who's like this, a possessive psychopathic creature, he has to win. You can't. You tried to win, didn't work. Now he's got to win. All right, now it goes on to say that they met again on this red carpet event. And supposedly, he came up to her. He was hired as a photographer at this event. She rejected his advantage, cut off all communications. So he punished her and broke into her house and killed her. But the problem is, and she tried at that point, she tried to save herself from this guy. She did, but it was too late. And all I can say is it's a horrifying, sad ending. Probably she was also too nice. She thought she could talk him out of it. This is also something they said, that she thought she could calm him down and talk him out of it. She did not understand psychopaths. You're a therapist. You studied psychology. Why do you not know what a psychopath is? And God knows I've seen this over and over again with therapists. They don't understand psychopathy. My opinion, the most important thing you can possibly understand is that. Because if you've got one of those coming to your practice, somebody's complaining about one of those, you might get involved. You should know what a psychopath is. And she didn't. She didn't understand it. And I'm telling you, this happens over and over in people who study therapy. Now, I want to point out two different things. My favorite guy, Dr. Stanton Samanow, who wrote Inside the Criminal Mind and a bunch of other great books. He knew that a psychopath is a psychopath. He learned that. And he wasn't about trying to fix them and turn them into not psychopaths. He knew they were never going to change. But then you get people who are more the therapy side of things, all right? Not the criminal, not like criminal psychology, not like forensic psychology. They're the therapeutic type of psychologists. They tend to be too soft-hearted, always thinking that, well, I'm working on myself, they're working on themselves, and I can help them and blah, blah, blah. And they often just don't see this stuff because they're too soft-hearted, like, oh, everybody has a right to, everybody can change, blah, blah, blah. And they can't. She might have thought he could change at some point. He beat the living crap out of her. And unfortunately, when they hooked up again, she finally, I think, figured it out, sort of, but it was too late. And the guy came back and did her in. So it's just sad to me. So I'm going to say, anybody, if you go into studying psychology and become a therapist, for God's sakes, learn what psychopathy is. And don't be so soft-hearted. Anyway, I was going to do that one, but I forgot him. She dated him well before she was educated. Really? She really? I'm going to have to look back on that. Before she was educated. She didn't go into, okay, she was in, I know she had other interesting stuff that she did. Not terribly healthy stuff, mind you, that she was involved with. I can't find here where she became a psychologist. Do you have that information when she became a psychologist? I thought she was a psychologist prior to meeting him, but maybe you're right. It's not in the article that I was looking at. So you might be right. Yeah, but supposedly after when she became a psychologist, they did say she tried to think she could talk him down, and you can't talk people down like that. Yeah, I know that they dated 13 years ago, but I don't know when she was. Yeah, I just don't know when. Let's see if I can find it. Now I'm curious. It'd be a shame if she figured that out after the fact. Amie Harwick. Amie Harwick. Let's see if I can find it when she got her. A PhD or whatever. Amie Harwick, education. Let's see. Amie Harwick. All right. Let's see. Okay, where's the education crap? She worked as a Playboy model and a dance performer to pay for her post-secondary education. She studied psychology at California State Polytechnic University and later became a marriage and family counselor. When did she get the degree, though? Oh no, Okay, by 2014, she started publishing. She was doing podcasts and was on TV and Sex Bible for Women and all that stuff. That was 2014. She was already a well-known sex counselor, but they met in 2011. I'm pretty sure she had a degree by then, or at least most of it. Let me see if I can find anything else about. It's just, I'm so bothered by that not being a part of what they learn right away. And I think it's so toned down whenever there's anything to do with therapy. Let's see, licensed marriage counselor and family therapist, bachelor's in psychology. Give me some dates, for God's sakes. I can't get any dates at all. Okay, let's see if I can find it. Okay, Harwick. Date, graduated. I'll try that one. Okay. Shocking facts. Shocking facts? Okay. I love this garbage. Shocking facts. Okay, well, if you're going to give me the facts, can you give me a date? Nope. I can't get a date here to save my life. So I don't know. So if somebody comes up with that, let me know. So I can't come up. I can't come up when she graduated. Let's see if she's on LinkedIn. Let's see. Amie Harwick, LinkedIn. Sometimes you can get that from there. Okay, Amie Harwick, LinkedIn. LinkedIn. She should be there. Everybody's on LinkedIn except me now. I sort of hated it. So, wait a minute. Let's see. I don't think that's her. She's not a ballet fitness instructor. Is Amie Harwick a real doctor? Let's see. She studied psychology and has a PhD from a non-accredited institute for advanced study of human sexuality, whatever the hell that is. But again, we don't have any dates, which is frustrating. Huh. I don't know. I'd probably have to search for another 5 hours. Alexa, 2009. All right. She studied psychology. See, this is the whole thing that it's a frustration thing for me, because I understand people want to become therapists to help people, but they should also understand the basics of psychology. And I don't know how many people have told me, how dare you say anything? You're not a psychologist. You're not a psychiatrist. What are you talking about personality disorders? Why are you talking about psychopathy? You're not a psychologist. I'm like, well, thank God. Maybe it's because I learned, mind you, I've studied psychology, a lot of it. I studied a ton of psychology to understand these things. And yes, I don't have a degree in psychology. I have a degree in criminal justice, but I've studied all the psychology to understand what a psychopath is. But if I'm going to actually be a psychologist, for God's sakes, I should know what that is. But there's a lot of soft-hearted people who go into psychology. They do. They're very soft-hearted. And a lot of them want to learn about themselves. Some people say some of them are just freaking crazy. And sometimes they are kind of off the wall and they like to learn about themselves. They've been in therapy. They want to help other people in therapy. So it's a whole kind of thing. And so sometimes they just have a way too sweet way of looking at helping people. And they often overlook psychopathy. They don't see it. They think they can still fix it. They come up with different names from the DSM-5. They come up with whatever. Bipolar. They'll say somebody's bipolar who's psychopathic, and they'll say they've got whatever they come up with, and they think it's all fixable. And they get played a lot of times by those clients, because if they're psychopaths, they know how to play them. So it's frustrating to me. I think that, if you're going to study psychology, psychopathy should be drilled into your head. Yeah. So anyway, all right, that's it. I gotta go eat. I'm doing OMAD, by the way, in case you're all wondering. I'm like so obsessed with my dinner. I'm doing the 1 meal a day thing. So maybe the woman who put me on the fast would have killed me in her hospital. But I've gained so much weight that I'm trying my best to do something. So I'm doing OMAD. So I have coffee in the morning and one dinner at night. And I'm hoping for a 68-year-old woman that this freaking works, because pretty much nothing does. So far I have lost weight. So we'll see if you see me looking like this, We'll find out. Ask me in 2 weeks whether I've just given up. But, I'm going to try. Really am. All right. So see you for the mushrooms. I hope you'll be there. See you later, guys. Bye.